Welcome back, everybody. So today we're heading back to the Bible, Genesis chapter 16 to be exact.
Genesis. Always a good place to start. Lots to unpack there.
Absolutely. And this time we are focusing on the story of Sarai, Abram, and Hagar.
Oh, now there's a story that's, well, let's just say it's full of all sorts of things. It's a powerful story.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you've got family drama, you've got societal pressures, and this really deep yearning for something more, you know?
You're hitting on something really important there, this idea of yearning, of longing. I think that's something that resonates with people even today.
I think so too, and I think that's why it's so important to look at these stories, even though they're, thousands of years old. They still have something to say to us.
For sure.
So to set the scene a little bit, we've got Sarai, who's Abram's wife, and she's desperate to have a child.
And this is, in a time and place where a woman's worth was very much tied to her ability to bear children.
The pressure must have been immense.
Absolutely.
Right.
It wasn't just about having an heir, it was about her status, her place in society.
And you can imagine how desperate she must have felt. And this is where Hagar comes in, right? She's Sarai's, her Egyptian slave.
Right, and this is where things get complicated. I mean, to our modern sensibilities, the whole idea of using a handmaid in this way it's so ethically problematic.
Yeah, but it was a common practice back then.
It was, but that doesn't make it any less, uncomfortable for us to think about.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to grapple with these stories, to see them in their historical context, but also to question them, to challenge them.
Yeah, and to think about what they have to teach us about ourselves, about humanity.
Exactly.
So Sarai suggests that Abram have a child with Hagar, and she thinks, or hopes, this is the solution to her problem, right?
Right. And, well, Hagar does become pregnant.
And this is where the story takes another turn, doesn't it? I mean, you can imagine how this pregnancy, on the one hand, it elevates Hagar's status. She's carrying Abram's child.
Yeah, but it also makes her a target for Sarai's resentment.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, as soon as Hagar becomes pregnant, the power dynamic shifts. And Sarai, she's no longer in control.
And she lashes out. She mistreats Hagar.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to see Hagar's vulnerability here. I mean, she's a slave in a foreign land. She has very little agency.
It's heartbreaking.
And she ends up fleeing, running away into the wilderness.
And that's where she encounters the angel of the Lord.
Talk about a turning point. This encounter it's pivotal. And for someone who's, maybe not familiar with the Bible, the angel of the Lord is often seen as this messenger of God, like a direct representation of his divine presence.
Yeah. And it's incredible to think that Hagar, this marginalized woman, the slave, is chosen for this divine encounter.
Absolutely. It really challenges our assumptions about who God speaks to. It's not always the powerful or the privileged.
Yeah. And what does the angel tell her?
Well, the angel tells Hagar to return to Sarai and submit to her. Which is, it's not exactly the liberating message you might expect.
Right.
But the angel also makes this incredible promise. He tells Hagar that her descendants will be too numerous to count. And that's where her son's name, Ishmael, which means God hears, it takes on this even deeper meaning.
Oh, it's like a direct response to her suffering, right?
Yeah.
A recognition of her plight.
Exactly. And Hagar, she names God El Roi. It means the God who sees me. And that's so powerful. It's not just about God's power. It's about this deeply personal connection, this feeling that even in the midst of suffering, you are seen and heard by something bigger than yourself.
And that's such a powerful message for anyone who's going through a hard time, right? This idea that you're not alone, that someone sees you. So Hagar returns to Sarai, and she gives birth to Ishmael. But the story doesn't end there, right?
No, it doesn't. The angel also gives this prophecy about Ishmael. He says that Ishmael will be a wild donkey of a man living in hostility with his brothers.
And this prophecy has huge implications.
Yeah.
I mean, Ishmael is considered the ancestor of the Arab people.
Right. And this prophecy, it sets the stage for future conflicts. It raises this question of whether it's a predetermined fate or a reflection of the circumstances into which Ishmael is born.
And that's a question that people are still debating today. It's a really complex issue.
It is. And I think it challenges us to think about how narratives, even those rooted in faith, can be used to justify conflict and division.
And maybe to think about how we can challenge those narratives, how we can find ways to build bridges instead of walls.
Exactly.
So where does this leave us? What are some of the key takeaways from the story of Sarai, Abram, and Hagar?
Well, I think for me, Hagar's story is a powerful reminder of the human struggle for agency and recognition. It's about the ways in which societal structures and power dynamics shape individual destinies. And it's a reminder that even actions taken with, seemingly good intentions can have unforeseen and often painful consequences.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, does Sarai ever regret her decision? I mean, we see her initial desperation of a child, but what about the emotional fallout? Was it just societal pressure, or were there feelings of inadequacy, jealousy, maybe even fear?
It's a great question. And the text, it doesn't really give us a clear answer, but I think it's definitely plausible that Sarai experienced some of those emotions. We see hints of her internal conflict, her struggle to control a situation that, ultimately spirals beyond her intentions.
Yeah. And it speaks to the complexity of human emotions
Mm-hmm.
and how our choices, they don't just affect us, they affect everyone around us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about this story. It challenges us to think critically about our own choices, to consider the potential impact on those around us and on the world we create.
Right. And even though it's this ancient story, it still has so much to say about the world we live in today.
Fully.
So to wrap things up, how does Hagar's story resonate with experiences of marginalization and resilience in the world today? I mean, it's a big question, but...
It is a big question, but it's a question worth asking. I mean, Hagar's story is sadly not unique. There are countless individuals throughout history and even today who find themselves caught in systems that limit their agency and silence their voices. But Hagar's story also offers this message of resilience, of finding faith and strength even in the face of adversity.
Yeah. And that's something we can all learn from, no matter what our circumstances are.
Mm-hmm.
So to everyone listening, I encourage you to explore this story further, read different interpretations, draw your own conclusions. There's so much to unpack here.
It really is a story that keeps giving.
Yeah, it does. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
See you next time.
Bye.